All right, team. On that note, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. Um, yeah, clearly we got to get the invite Zoom thing figured out. I did just post the fresh link in the chat, so hopefully people will find their way over here. All right, going ahead and diving in. Welcome to meeting number 8 for the OWASP Top 10 for Large Language Model Applications Expert Group. Got a lot to go over post getting 1.0 out and subsequently getting out our little patch release, fixing up some grammar and all of that good stuff. We have a lot going on. We've expanded the core team. We've added a bunch of roles. I will be doing much less talking this meeting than I have in previous ones because we're going to have a bunch of the leads chime in. Some of the leads have provided some slides. Others of them that I see are here. I may just put them on the spot. A few of them are very new in role. So if I call on you and you're just getting started, say you're just getting started and just talk a little bit about what you want to do. So, or ask for help, which is key. So we always do start off with this. Again, remaining super pleased with our trajectory on fulfilling our big project aims. We have built a truly amazing group of experts here. We see it almost routinely now, weekly, that other government bodies or major corporations are using us as foundational material. I think a lot of people saw the really in-depth video that IBM put out on the top 10 list. Very cool seeing that and continuing to get referenced in a lot of different places. So in terms of the roadmap, as I mentioned, we did get out the 1.0.1 bug fix release. Good reception on that. Seems like there was some really good work done, and I think that was almost entirely Mike and ads pulling that together in short order, which was great. I think the ability to just get that in one place and have spell checkers and things applied to it, it's awesome. Ads will probably mention to it. He's done some really good work making sure that we have things like spelling checkers that we can put in our IDE as we are doing this for when we are working in Markdown. That'll help in the future on that. For localization, I do see Mike is here. Mike, maybe you want to just chime in on kind of how things are going with localizations. How many do we have in process and what's the status real quick?
Yes. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there are, I think, 3 done. I actually don't have them listed here. I should. Sorry about that. I think 3 done. There are about a dozen in progress. There are many with many different translations with multiple people working on them, which is great. The reason I haven't released any yet is more for pragmatic reasons. Actually, if you don't mind, I can talk about the website footer for a second. Previous versions of the website footer had a little module that was said like translations are available here. Because we didn't have translations ready at launch, we decided to take that little module out. When we put it back in, we want to have enough there, enough content there, enough translations to make it reasonable, right? We don't want to say, hey, look at all the translations and have like 1 or 2. So I think we're just trying to wait for a couple more to come in, then I'll be able to post those back on the website.
Cool. I think if we have 4 or 5 of them, we can actually do a big announcement around, really having something that's a release of the localized stuff. So let's take that offline, sort of figure out when we think that might come true and what format those are going to be in, and we can figure out how to update the OWASP site as well as the top 10 site. Very cool.
Sounds good.
The other big thing going on right now, project-wise, is the 1.1 release, and I'll hold off on having ads chime in on that because he does have some slides that are in the deck later, and he'll bring people up to speed. Lots of activity there. pushing towards getting something out that's going to have some really good uh, crispness improvements to it. And then working out towards a major release, which we'll call V2. And Emmanuel's been leading a lot of discussion on his sub channel in terms of how are we going to do data gathering for that. And I know he's online and he has some slides later too. So in terms of the leads, we do have folks on the core team. You can see the whole list and links to everybody on the wiki. There's a core team page. Initially, I put together the core team, when very early days when we were getting started, just based on people who were either active or seemed to have some really important expertise. I switched more into a mode now of asking people to join the core team when they're stepping up to volunteer to lead an important part of the project. And you see a partial list of the core team here with people who are really leads that go beyond either managing an entry or being kind of experts at large. So I'll ask people to chime in here. And I know we have some slides as well, but first on the list, Mike, going back to you, anything you want to add in terms of updates around the design track, the website?
Yeah, so I just wanted to give a quick run through of the design file that I am using to kind of show everyone my work for a second, if that's okay.
Yep,
Since
floor is yours.
Where did share? Since the work that I do is not in GitHub and it's much more visual, it's kind of hard to see sometimes what I'm doing behind the scenes. So I just wanted to show everyone the design file that I'm using. So this UI, this is a program called Figma. Up here in the top left, there's different pages. I'll show you, we'll run through in a second, but each one of these different pages has the work that I've been doing. And then each one of these you can see is just a different page. And it's laid out like this in this program instead of one long document, flowing document like Word, because you can do extra style things to it. And then when the time comes, you just export it all as a PDF. The deck is the same way. So the deck version, and then all the social media that I've been doing. So here, let me zoom in. I've got it separated by size, so Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, and then social versions of all of the different vulnerabilities and different styles that people can share. And then there were general messaging, again, just different options. And speaking of, well, here's a Twitter header, more stuff. And then we were talking about localization. So for localization, was thinking we could do something like this to help promote all the things. What else do I have here? Oh yeah, different version of that. And yeah, that's social. Diagrams and infographics. This is something that has been on my backlog lately, but I've got it here. The work that I am doing is being again done in here. And then website assets. So when there's a news story, I go and get the image and size it all. Sometimes there's not an image, so I just use the logo with our brand colors here. And I make a little thumbnail for the videos that are in the resources page. And here's the, the image assets for this. And here are all of the contributors, supporter icons. So you can see this is just kind of like a one-stop shop for all things visual for this project. And yeah, I see hands up. Jason?
I was just going to ask if you could add me as like a collaborator to this Figma.
No. Yeah, of course. Yeah, totally, of course. Anybody else? Sweet. Well, that was it.
All right, awesome. All right, back over to slide deck here. Oops, ah, wrong button. There we go. All right, so I did throw this slide in this morning because some of the guys were posting on the channel here. Got stats for the website from Mike. It looks like we've had over 3,000 page views on the site so far, which is a great start for something we've barely started to promote. And Will, keep me honest here, but 139 subscribers. Is Will on?
Yeah, I'm here, and actually, I just checked, and it's 140. So we've gone up one since I took that screenshot earlier.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and give people an update on the mailing list?
Sure. So first off, I'm just going to drop the link in here. If you haven't seen it already, we're using Beehive to create the newsletter. Beehive's nice because it has the subscribe page already set up for me, so I just have to worry about content. But you can go there, you can subscribe if you haven't. You can also see the past newsletters as well. Right now, I'm trying to do one newsletter a month, so I'm working on the September newsletter. But yeah, if you have any suggestions on the previous edition I put out, or any content that you think might need to make it in there for the future newsletters, just reach out to me on Slack and I can make that happen.
That's great. I'm in particular really excited about this. I've seen requests from people. Is there a way to keep dibs on the project for maybe people who don't want to be living in a Slack workspace? And that's a lot of the population of the world who isn't going to want to live there. So having another touch point would be great. All right. So diagrams, Bob.
So hello there. Okay, so we've had a lot of ideas on diagrams that people have posted. I added a new idea last night, actually. I felt like they were getting a little crowded, and since a lot of the vulnerabilities really affect the same areas, I decided to throw up a option for something with a lot less noise on it. So over in the diagrams and visuals chat channel, I'm kind of looking for people to kind of say what they like, what they don't like, if they have an image that they particularly like that they think we should carry forward and modify a bit, looking for any input we can. I've seen a couple of variations of them showing up in presentations already. So that's really cool. The other thing, if I can share for a moment, Steve.
Go ahead. Let me
Can I steal? No, I can't.
stop
Okay.
share. There you go.
So this morning I worked on let's see, it looks like it's going to be difficult. Not sure I can do this. Yeah, I don't know how to do it. It's my Mac is complaining about security on it. But I shared in the discuss channel a new kind of picture that I'm playing with. Want to get people's feedback if they think there's any value to it. And it shows kind of a little hard pressed to call it true root causes, but things along the lines of a root cause, and then a highlight in a separate box our large language model vulnerability. And then downstream from that, I show another box that shows the impact or the result. So just trying to see if there's a visual representation of cause, vulnerability, result, and see if that feels like it resonates to anybody, if it passes a message useful, or whether it's just going to be too noisy and useless. So
Cool.
welcome feedback on that.
Yeah, Bob, I know for one, I would love to see us at least get one of these diagrams vetted by your group and get it into the 1.1 PDF. So something you and ads should sync up on. But I think that would be a really great thing to add to make it exciting for people to check out 1.1.
So Ads has already reached out on one of the diagrams, and he's asked me to get one ready by this Friday. So I reached out to Mike. I saw there was a DM from Mike earlier that I haven't seen yet. So we'll get something out by Friday for people to review and comment on for the 1.1.
Fantastic.
And it's along the lines of the Where's Waldo picture, not this root cause effect picture.
All right, cool. Yeah, I know some of those early ones have had a lot of discussion and review, so maybe it's just time to get one out. Let's see, is Jason on? I'm not sure he is.
Yep,
but
I am.
Oh, yes. All right.
So I'm in charge of style, and that's kind of a broad concept. I'm not sure yet exactly what that covers, if it covers things like the design and the branding or what, but I think what it definitely covers is consistency in the entries and the way that we craft them, and things like localization, or not localization, but like spelling and that sort of thing. So it's been on my plate for a couple weeks now, but I happened to get super sick in the middle of that. And then Salesforce has this thing called Dreamforce that's pretty big, and all of our announcements are all AI based. So between being sick and being distracted with that, I haven't had a lot of time. So I'm aiming for next week to have the style guide draft put out for comment. A couple things that we have done though is I think settled on using British English for the spelling. At least the two people that chimed in both said that's what they preferred. So I think that's what we got based on the feedback so far. So if you strongly feel otherwise, please speak up. And the other thing, Will called out a really cool discrepancy that we have in the URL structures between like the MD files and the website, where URLs just kind of break and they have to be mapped back and forth. But I think that's being worked on or has already been fixed. I'm not sure where Mike is, but I know that he's taken that and is running with it.
I just want to acknowledge the wasps with their highly jewel. That's like awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I figured I went out of my way to make like super blinged up wasps for that.
That's really cool.
Cool. So Jason, for what it's worth, I think definitely I was viewing the style group as focused more on the sort of style within the entries and keeping them consistent. But I think you and Mike and the design team, obviously there's got to be a lot of contact around how this all comes together into the styled documents in the website. So appreciate you getting this off the ground. I know that we took some of the early discussion from that and already put it into 1.0.1, and we'll figure this all out. So let's see.
I guess, can I ask one question real quick?
Yeah.
Something I'm soliciting feedback on, and I guess you can chime in the channel, but I'll ask it here. I'm not sure where it makes most sense to publish the style guide, if that's something that could be in like a contributors file inside the GitHub, something like that, or if it makes sense to actually publish it as part of the wiki. So if you have thoughts on that, I'd be open to hearing where you think that makes most sense, or maybe both makes most sense. I'm not sure.
Jason, it'd probably be, I actually was thinking it would be good to have like an internal one for contributors and an external one for potentially press or people trying to do things from the outside. And
that's a good idea. Come up with branding guidelines.
Yeah, in that case, it would be good to have like the external one posted as a link on the website somewhere, and then maybe our internal ones on GitHub somewhere.
Cool. In that case, Aubrey, we should probably touch base with you as well for PR if we're going to start establishing branding guidelines for folks.
Yeah, that sounds like something I'd like to be into with you guys.
Awesome. All right, well, you guys go figure it out. Jason, for what it's worth, putting stuff up on the wiki is easy, and that's probably the easiest way to manage something like this. If you want to push something onto the main GitHub site, put yourself together a markdown file or whatever you think is appropriate and just do a PR and I'll commit it for you.
Cool, thanks.
All right, well, this leads us into 1.1. So ads, floor is yours.
Hello, thank you. Mine's a very messy slide. I've ultimately crammed too much in. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their feedback and efforts in V1.1. So again, I've just put a direct link to the instructions for the expert group where I've kind of mapped out the 4 sprints, finishing on October the 1st, which is our like kind of deadline. At the moment, we're in sprint 2, which is where we're actually using kind of GitHub issues to triage work and then using PRs to like merge in quotation fixes, I guess, to those based on the enhancements and things I've got. I will be sending like a short survey, if that's okay, afterwards, because I just wanted to get feedback from the group if that's how people prefer to work, because I know not everyone is kind of used to maybe using GitHub or, you know, like CI/CD. So I just want to make sure that we're hosting the most comfortable way for us to receive feedback and implement that. Yeah, so we've had 30 in total, 12 currently open, 2 which will be moved on to V2 because they're out of scope. Only because they're a discussion about whether we're actually going to remove or replace entries, which is kind of a bigger discussion and bigger change. But I just put some brief stats in. You can see there. I can actually see a typo on LM09. My bad. But yeah, that just gives you an idea. I have been very popular, which has been good fun. But it's great interacting with people. Like Steve said, we did segment a specific code LinkedIn extension in our IDEs. So hopefully we should have like standard conformity across the board, which will help us having to do any kind of mock-up in the future or anything like that. I actually wanted to extend the Sprint 2 deadline just by a few days, just so we can actually give the community a bit more time to feedback, especially after this meeting, because we haven't really had a meeting which overlaps with Sprint 2 and kind of the message. So yeah, that's kind of extended. Working with Jason and Mike, trying to get some sorry, that's Bob. So working with Bob to actually get a diagram into V1.1. Everyone loves pretty pictures, so that will be awesome. And getting a nice infographic in there will definitely make V1.1 a nice extension. Also, again, working with Mike and Jason about how we redesign the style guide. We are looking at potentially changing like the vulnerability summaries page, which was actually raised for a GitHub issue, which is great. And then there's a couple of other tidbits which will follow on from the last meeting. I created an iCalendar file with like our recurring meetings, which I can change. I can change the meeting links as they do, but this allows a centralized place for everyone to be able to access the meetings without having to manually check the page, etc. And then myself and Sandy actually started working on a vulnerable LM applications list. It's in the wiki. So if you want to test your skills out, if you know of anything that's if you know of anything in the wild that that isn't listed there, please add it. And also, I was actually interested. I didn't know it on here, but I was actually interested in trying to set something up container based, which I would like to kind of start a project soon if we have anyone willing to contribute to that. So
fantastic. Yeah, we should think about that vulnerable apps list and what we do with it. I mean, having it on the wiki is great, but maybe there's some other places we can promote that or get leverage out of it. That's very cool.
Yeah, I thought it was a great way as well to actually, like, you know, give feedback and praise to the people who, you know, the open source contributors who are creating these, and which is ultimately going to help and boost the OWASP project as well. So
very cool. All right. Anybody have questions for ads about 1.1? All right, then we'll move on. So Emmanuel, you want to update us on the data project?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. We're just on the brainstorming phase, just trying to gather all different methodologies and all the data sources that we can find, just to get some more grounding and understanding on which ones we're gonna go for it. Our goal is to rate and rank vulnerabilities that are occurring in the wild. Ideally, if we can connect them to CVEs, that'll be great. And then also quantify or export per group opinions. And if you have any tools or suggestion, please join our Slack team. We'll be grateful to any suggestion. Thank you.
Any questions for Emmanuel? Yeah, I'll just add, I think this is going to be a really important addition to the project. I think that we did a really good job in 1.1 of making sure that we had a lot of diverse opinions reflected, and that we had people who were experts in both security, AI, contributing, and I'm really proud of what we came up with. But the tradition with these OWASP top 10 lists is a huge part of the value that they bring, is they're grounded in real data about real vulnerabilities, real exploits. So this is our chance to dive into that and start down that route. And I think the space is still so new and so young that I think we are still going to have a preponderance of kind of expert opinion driving the list, but starting to feed this data into the rankings around it and things like that, I think is going to be really, really important, and more so as we go through the next couple of years. So really excited that we have this up and rolling. All right. So this is one of the first, this is probably the first true sub project that we're taking on for the group. This was something that Sandy had started working on independently, had posted the group, and then we've been talking about folding this into the project in some way, shape, or form. So we decided we would just get started and then figure out how it's all going to roll together with our existing work. So Sandy, you want to give an overview and an update on this?
Absolutely. So it really, the checklist that I created, I mean, I basically just sat down and dumped everything that was in my head out and threw it out there to see how people, if anyone had any feedback. Kind of expecting people to push back and say, oh, you should include this or you should include that. But all of the feedback so far, I haven't received anything really that wasn't super positive. Everyone who looks at, everyone that I've showed it to said, oh my God, where can I get it? So if you do have a different opinion, or, I really, anything is appreciated. So if you think that there's a better way to do it, or is there, something we should include that I haven't included, what I'm trying to solve for organizations is you're really seeing the two extremes. You're seeing people either saying we're all out, that it's too noisy, we're just going to shut our doors, and that this is another, one of those hype cycles and we're going to ignore it. And then you see people who are all in. And both of those are dangerous views, and what I would like people to be able to walk away from the checklist with is saying, hey, we don't want to be on either end of those extremes. We can't ignore it because our attackers are using it, and the type of attacks are going to accelerate. So think about every risk assessment, everything that we've done prior to ChatGPT. All of those numbers are not even valuable now, because attacks now can happen so much more quickly. And I'm definitely really concerned about it. So the image that I'm showing you at the very top, the image off to the left is real. The image off to the right was used in a Zoom call to trick people. Organizations, HR organizations, are just getting inundated with people using fake video to apply for jobs with stolen identities. 0 days. I was going to get a stat on this, but it used to be if a 0 day came out and you weren't near nation state, you didn't really have to worry about it. Well, that's not true today. Now the time from 0 day to exploit is accelerated, and they're finding a lot more of them. I included some of the cost for Fraudbert, Darkbert, and Dark GPT. You look at what those people are selling those for, that the return on that investment to get those for attackers, I mean, it basically means anyone can attack you at this point. It doesn't even take any high level of expertise. And then there's also the governance side of it, where third party liability, you have to make sure that, hey, what's our warranty? Our government, FTC and some of the other organizations are very concerned about making sure that it's fair and that we're not collecting too much data. So there's a lot to think about. And my part of the purpose with the checklist, I don't want to recreate anything. I want to make sure that, if there's a different resource out there that I'm pointing to it or using it as a standard, I don't want to make it too complicated. Make it 40 pages long, but the purpose of it is for an organization to sit down with their team, their CTO, their CIO, and say, okay, let's build up a strategy. What do we need to make sure that we have in place? So any questions or comments?
Maybe you just want to go over your roadmap, because I saw you drop that in.
Yes, this is a little bit aggressive, but my plan with version 1.0 is to get it out as quickly as possible and then get the feedback on it. I met with some people from Ventura AI. I have some other meetings this week. Everyone I've showed it to has been really very positive about it. So my plan is to just get a version out there, a little bit like we did with the OWASP top 10, Steve, and then just get have other people say, oh, you should include this, or what about this? So
great. I saw there were some questions in the chat from people who hadn't noticed this existed yet. Can you share the name of your Slack channel where people can go join?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then maybe put a fresh post up today in the main channel reminding people that this is there and encouraging them to go join the sub team.
So it's team-LLM_AI-SecGov is the channel. I can copy it over.
Cool.
Question on that. So love the idea and all of that. Have we thought about how we would connect to it, document it, publish it with the OWASP top 10? Would it be part of that PDF? Would it be another link on the wiki? Has there been any discussion about that yet?
No, and it's part of what we need to figure out. And I've also had some interested parties from some of the other AI related OWASP projects reach out about noticing this existed. So I think we may have some work to do in the background to figure out how to sync this all up. But in the meantime, let's focus on making this thing really useful. Then we'll figure out how we connect it in with the rest of the whole project.
And then a couple of thoughts with like what Ads was saying. October is Cybersecurity Month. So there's an opportunity, like if you have a local OWASP channel, maybe we could stand up a capture the flag, create events. I was going to, work on some slides for around the how users can be attacked for National Cybersecurity Month, and maybe be able to share it with people so that they could use those slides. So just some ideas on getting more visibility.
Cool.
Hey, Sandy, I'm going to ping you on the outside and for design support and see if I can help with a bunch of social stuff for you as well.
Yeah, Mike, you definitely have, you and Jason, I'm jealous of your design skills.
We'll get you there.
Okay, awesome.
That's all Mike, just to be clear. That's not me at all.
That wraps up the scheduled part of the meeting. The next meeting will be in 2 weeks. We'll keep this on track. Open discussion, though. We got an update from all the leads. First thing I'm going to ask, though, are there any of the leads that I missed or skipped that wanted to give an update?
Hey, Steve, it's Andy here. Maybe I'll quickly jump in.
Oh, cool.
in addition to leading the excessive agency entry, I've been enshrined with the title of feedback lead. I guess I wouldn't confess any particular skill at gathering feedback. I think I just put my hand up at the right time or the wrong time, depending on your point of view. So on that, I mean, I'd really value people's feedback on the feedback process. So how is that process working in terms of being able to raise those GitHub issues? Does GitHub issues work for folks? I know we had some folks submit PRs instead of GitHub issues. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea which of these various mechanisms is going to be most effective for us moving forwards. So I guess a call out to the other core team members and also anyone else who's involved in this work. Please let me know what kind of feedback processes and mechanisms you feel are either working well or not working well for you, and we can look to tweak and change that.
Great.
Yeah. Sorry, just to add that, I just don't want to cause any confusion or anything. Especially for the V1.1, PRs are only being submitted by the entry leads. The reason for that is obviously it gives us the ability to actually kind of debate and discuss like a recommendation or enhancement, which is done through a GitHub issue. As well as the fact, obviously, if a vulnerability lead is working on their own branch and then people are submitting PRs and the code can have conflicts and stuff, so it just gets quite difficult to manage. So just to kind of throw that out there. Whether that changes, but that's definitely kind of the case for 1.1, which I know there's some confusion. So
cool. All right. So comments or questions from the team at large? Anybody have anything they want to share?
When you get a sec, Steve, we need to discuss about the I'm going to update the calendar. But we just need to get a meeting link because it won't be the same for like the next one. So I just want to make sure I update the iCalendar file.
Yeah. Okay. You and I'll sync up on that for sure.
Great. Cool. Thanks, bud.
Okay. Anyone else?
Figured I'd just say hi. In case
Oh
anyone
yeah,
doesn't
Aubrey,
know me.
introduce yourself and mention the role you've taken on.
Sure. My name's Aubrey King, and I am a community evangelist. Had a long ops career as an internet systems administrator, and then also did a little bit of pre-sales engineering for F5 before moving into this community evangelist role to finally use my video production degree, which is kind of nice. It's been 30 years in the making, but I finally used it. Looking to take on the PR role here, so I am still brand new. But if anyone's got some ideas on how they would like to be, I guess, represented out there, I'm all ears. So reach out to me. I'm on Slack, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to have Aubrey take this one on. He obviously is professional at this kind of evangelism, which is what we're trying to get done with the group here. So super excited to have him join the team. I think this got sparked by Aubrey inviting me to his podcast a few weeks back, which was fabulous. And so I think we can leverage a lot of his expertise. Anybody else?
Yeah, and I do have to say, Jason is responsible for prodding me initially. He asked me why I hadn't joined. I told him, I'm like, I want to join that project. He goes, well, why haven't you? So here I am.
Good stuff. All right. Anybody else? Going once, twice. All right, team. I will be posting the recording in the next 24 hours. I will share the slides. Great seeing you all. We'll be back here in 2 weeks, but lots of work to do before then. Go jump into Sandy's channel, take a look at the checklist, sync up with ads, make sure that you're looking at the process for 1.1, or if you're so inclined, go hop in with Emmanuel on the the 2.0 planning and data gathering project. Lots and lots of stuff to do. See y'all soon. Bye.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.